Uh-huh.
No church.
Yes, the church that is one of the.
You have been to Zexit College also? You went?
I've been to Europe few places.
So when you were there in England?
I went there from Vienna, Austria.
Yes.
I was in Vienna for 2 years, and then I decided to go to Prague as well.
Once you are in Europe, you should see more of it. Not one country, more.
Sure, yes. And it's all about 2 or 3 hours away from each other. So the journey from Vienna to Prague is, I think, 4 hours by bus. It's 2 different countries, but it's only 4 hours by bus.
Of course. 4 hours from United Kingdom?
No, 4 hours from Vienna to Prague. That's it. The flight journey is less than 1 hour from London to Prague. 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I took a flight back to London from Prague. It took me about a little over an hour.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So I am hearing that many people showed interest in this conference, right?
We give sufficient publicity, people have turned up. Like in our college, very often programs will be there, one or other. Soon after this, we are in the traditional folklore competition over here. For it is the excellent traditional folklore competition.
Okay. Okay.
So that is coming up soon after this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in the month of March, we are having the National Law Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, one or other events will be there.
That's nice.
It's in the heart of city, so normally activities are more. Students are also very vibrant here. They're very dynamic.
So you are beating hard of the city.
Had your lunch?
Sorry?
Had your lunch?
Yeah, we had lunch in the hotel. So it's fine.
My colleague also came.
Mhm.
Chandralekha.
Yes, Chandralekha was there and student coordinator.
Where is it that stage?
We are also having German.
I'll follow you. Have a seat. Yeah, you're right. I think I was just telling my friend that 4 years ago we had this wonderful conference here.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. 4. It's hot and then there's a vibrant conference it was. Yeah.
More than
gathered here to attend the inaugural function of the two-day international seminar on India and Europe, Comparative Legal Context, Minority Issues and Indian Traditions conducted by SDM Law College and Centre for PG Studies and Research in Law in association with the British Academy, Queen Mary, University of London, School of Law and CIRHS, SDMC Ujire. The finest minds of their respective fields are present here today. I now request Dr. Tarnath, our principal, to escort the dignitaries onto the dais. They say that all good is born in prayer and all good springs from it. I request Ms. Harita to lead us into prayer.
तेरी दया परमात्मा हर पल बनी रहे, तेरी दया परमात्मा हर पल बनी रहे, ये दिल तुम्हारे प्यार से हरदम धनी रहे, तेरी दया परमात्मा हर पल बनी रहे। जीवन है चदरिया प्रभु भक्ति का रंग है, पूरी हो नाद ये हमारे दिल की उमंग है, भक्ति के रंगों से ये चदरिया सनी रहे, ये दिल तुम्हारे प्यार से हरदम धनी रहे, तेरी दया परमात्मा हर पल बनी रहे, हर पल बनी रहे, हर पल बनी रहे।
I now request Mrs. Chandulekha, coordinator of SDM Law Conference Committee, to welcome the gathering.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a true pleasure for me to welcome you all to this two-day international seminar on the topic India and Europe, Comparative Legal Context, Minority Issues and Indian Tradition. It is an honor for us to welcome Dr. Prakash Shah, Professor of Law, University of London, to this seminar. He is presently appointed as a reader in Culture and Law in the Department of Law, Queen Mary University of London. He has completed his Masters in Law from London School of Economics and Political Science. He completed his PhD on studentship from School of Oriental and African Studies and is currently in the teaching profession. On behalf of SDM Law College, I welcome you, sir. I request Dr. Tarnath to hand over a flower bouquet and memento to Dr. Prakash Shah. Thank you, sir. We are honored to have as our chief guest Professor Venkat Rao and Professor Martin Paik. Professor Venkat Rao teaches at the English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. He did postdoctoral research at University of Chicago, University of California and University of Washington. On behalf of SDM Law College, I welcome you, sir. I request Dr. Balika to hand over a flower bouquet and memento. Professor Martin Fake is the head of the Department of Study of Religions, University of Pardubice, Czech Republic since 2010. He completed his Masters in Comparative History and PhD in Philosophy from Charles University in Prague, Czech Republic. On behalf of SDM Law College, I welcome you, sir. I request Professor Maheshchandra Nayak to hand over a flower bouquet and memento. I am extremely happy to inform you that Dr. Prakash Shah, Dr. Venkat Rao and Martin Fake have a deep and trusted relationship with SDM Law College. They participated as resource person in 3-day international conference organized by SDM Law College in the year 2012. And we look forward your cooperation and association even in the future too. I also welcome our beloved principal, Dr. Tanath, who is presiding as president in this inaugural session. Welcome you, sir. And I would like to welcome Dr. Duncan Jackie, CIRHS SDMC Ujire, who is a pillar of this seminar. I welcome you, sir. I request Professor Santosh Professor Naresh to hand over a flower bouquet and memento. Thank you, sir. I would like to welcome Mrs. Venkat Rao, Mrs. Sophia, and all other delegates from different colleges, and also resource persons, chairpersons, and moderators of each session. I also welcome all the teaching and non-teaching faculty and students of SDM Law College. And I also welcome press and media, and also photographer Mr. Kirti and videographer Mr. Rajesh. Welcome one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. An intriguing theme has been set for the seminar. I now request Dr. Duncan, Coordinator CIRHS SDMC Ujire, to give us in-depth understanding of the theme.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ. ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಮುಂದಿರುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿರಿಯರಿಗೆ, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿಗಳಿಗೆ. The task that I have been given today is to introduce the conference, the next 2 days events for you. I have been given only 5 minutes, but I think I'll steal another 5 minutes from from my colleagues here. Let me begin with a story which will give you an idea of what the conference is all about. This story about Buddha. They say one day Buddha walked into the hall where he was supposed to give his discourse with a silken hanky in his hand, beautifully made hanky. He raised the hand, showed it to the audience and asked, "What is it?" "It's a silken hanky, sir." So then he started putting knots on it. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Then he again showed it. "What is it now? Is it same hanky that you saw earlier?" Some people said, "Yes, it is same hanky." Some other people said it is not same hanky. And they arrived at a consensus that it is same hanky, but it has knots in it now. Then Buddha said, "Okay, let me untie the knot," and he started pulling the hanky from both the ends. Everybody shouted, "No, sir, you can't do that. If you pull it from 2 ends, the knots will become tighter and you cannot undo it later." The thing that Buddha was trying to tell them is reflect on the situation before you try to untie the knots. If you don't know how the knots were put in the first place, you will not be able to untie them later. To put it in different words, there is a statement which is ascribed to Einstein. He said, "It seems the mindset that has created a problem cannot be used to undo the problem, to solve the problem. The kind of thinking that has gone into creating a problem cannot be a solution to the problem also." The problem that this conference is going to address is something like this. For last few decades, or for probably 2 centuries, we have been talking about a kind of description of India, an image of India which is proliferating by the day. It talks about how India is a very bad place to live in. It has a lot of oppression. Women are oppressed here. Minorities are oppressed here. By the way, I'm a minority, so-called minority. So low caste people are oppressed here. Basically, it's a place which is not meant for any dignified human beings to live. When you hear about these kind of things, or let me give you an example before that. There is something called PEW Research Center based in Washington. In 2015, it made an international survey of about 198 countries. They were trying to look for the kind of religious intolerance, the level of religious intolerance in the world. And they made, at the end of the survey, they made a ranking. For 198 countries were ranked. You know where India was in the rank? Anybody? It was the 4th place. Not from the top, but from the bottom. And the other 3 countries that followed India were Nigeria, Syria, and Iraq. So this is where they place India. Question is, what do we do with this image? How do we understand it? What is happening here? Some of you probably will agree with this idea that India is really not doing well and we have to do something about it. We have to solve this problem somehow. And some of you probably will not agree with the image. Like if you're me, your blood will boil, as we say in Kannada, when you think about these things. But let me tell you, whether you're on that side of the fence or on this side of the fence, we both want to build a better society, a society where we can live in a way which is a little better than the way we have lived so far. In that sense, the goal of all of us who have gathered here, irrespective of which position you take, is the same, to build a better society. What we are presenting in this conference is a set of speakers, a set of scholars who have dared to talk about these problems in a different way. They are neither on that side of the fence nor on this side of the fence. The question then is, what have they saying? How they have done this research? What have they arrived at? Do they have figures? Because people who make these images of India have innumerable data. They have police data, they have surveys, they have international surveys done by international NGOs, all kinds of data. Do these scholars have data? Do we have data? Can we speak about India, Indian minority, Indian problems in a different way? I won't summarize what these scholars are going to tell you, but I can only tell you, wait and see. Listen to them. Keep your eyes open, ears open, and you will know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Give light and the darkness will disappear. I request the dignitaries to inaugurate the seminar by lighting the lamp. Words are, of course, the most powerful drug used by mankind, says Rudyard Kipling. I now request Dr. Prakash Shah to deliver the inaugural address.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your excellent welcome. These kind of excellent welcomes always await. I remember almost 6 years ago, or going on for 6 years ago, we were here for a conference, another conference on rethinking religion in India, with specific reference to legal issues. Of course, in many of my recent trips to India, one person has figured very massively, who is unfortunately not here with us, who is the, in a way, the inspirational thread that ties a lot of us together, whether, you know, he has simply been somebody who has inspired our studies, or as students of his, some people who've merely just listened to him and become, you know, interested in a lot of a different way of approaching, as Duncanji said, you know, the study of India, the study of our country, and so on. And that person, you wouldn't be surprised to you if I say S.N. Balagangadhara, professor, at the University of Ghent, and the initiator of what in my view is probably the most significant research program which exists in the world on the study of India. And not only on the study of India, but the study of Europe and India in comparison. And I personally have to say that my life trajectory, my research efforts, my academic growth has taken a totally different direction when I came across the work of his research program and the students that he's inspired and so on. So I think in his absence, at least we can remember Professor Balagangadhara first. And second, of course, the massive thanks goes to the Law College here and current president for being, for showing a kind of characteristic hospitality which we also experienced 5 or 6 years ago, right? Like when we were here, all here, or some of us, or many of us were here those years ago. And we are feeling this kind of same warmth and welcome that we felt, during that very memorable event. Yeah, so I'm hoping that we can have lots of wonderful memories again in these next 2 days. Yeah, to take, at least for me, to take back to the UK with me, and some of us are also traveling back to Europe and maybe other cities in India and so on. Now, today, I know I'm supposed to give this sort of address. I will stick more to the formal aspects, right? And then I think later this afternoon and during the course of tomorrow, as Duncanji already said, we're going to get into some of the more substantial discussions about how we should maybe recognize the knots and untie the knots that in a way exist in all of us, right? And there are different types of knots that we have to work on to unpack and so on, and also in terms of the development of our own sort of research, our approach to knowledge, who we are as human beings and so on. I already mentioned the research program of Dr. S.M. Balagangadhara, and I would say that this conference is very much in the kind of lineage of his research program. So that's the first thing to say. It's probably almost 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years ago, that I decided together with Duncanji and Sufiaji here to apply for this award by the British Academy in the United Kingdom. In order to take our work on caste and the caste system in deeper, to sort of delve deeper into the work that some of us have already been doing collaboratively. And one of the precursors to that project, which we now got awarded, and the fruit is partly, the result that you see in terms of the 2-day conference we are having here today, is the book that we produced all together. Some of us are here, Duncanji is here, Martin is here, Martin Farek from Czech Republic, Sofia. We're actually all four of us the co-editors of that book, The Western Foundations of the Caste System. Now, that sounds a bit odd if you say Western Foundations of the Caste System already. And I always have to qualify the choice of title as soon as I begin to talk about the book every time. A couple of years ago, I gave a talk in advance of the book publication at the Indian Council for Historical Research, where I also had to sort of begin by unpacking why it is that we chose the title, because it sounds counterintuitive. All of us know, don't we, that the caste system is really a product of India, right? So what is this Western Foundations all about, right? So anyway, we hope very much that some of you are already getting acquainted with that book. We will talk about the book during the course of today and tomorrow, and it's great that some of us, in fact all the co-editors are at least here, right? So we can all give our kind of reflection on being involved in such an enterprise. And the project, as I began to hint, is the current project is really one step forward from the book, we hope, right? We don't know exactly what will happen. We're still talking, and in fact that's part of the purpose of this 2-day event that we're having here, is to try to figure out where do we go from here, right? We made some noises about how there are Western foundations to the notion of the caste system, to the image of the caste system, to the image of India. But what then? So the project that we are focusing on right now is meant to concentrate on law, which of course should be of interest to many of you because you're either law teachers, law professors, law students, yeah, or simply researchers in law, or simply interested in law as an ordinary citizen. And one of the things that's been happening is that, of course, in India, the laws on caste have been around for a long time. In fact, you could say since the colonial period, there's been some law making around the problem of caste. Such laws are now spreading. They've already spread to the United Kingdom, right? So I'm coming from a jurisdiction, I teach and work and live in a jurisdiction where we already have a law on caste. And actually I'm a part of a much wider team of people who are actually fighting against this law, right? So you have people who fight against caste, and I'm on the opposite side. I'm fighting against the law which is against caste, right? And all those people who are against caste. And some of that will hopefully become clear in the course of the next 2 days. In the meantime, of course, the laws on caste have also spread to the United Nations, right? So the United Nations also seeks to increasingly develop a kind of jurisprudential corpus which tells countries worldwide what they should do about their caste problems, right? Their problems of caste discrimination, the existence of caste systems in their own jurisdictions, and so on. And of course, the United Kingdom has been targeted as one of those jurisdictions. It won't surprise you to learn that, of course, the other most obvious jurisdiction is India, right? And so the United Nations and those people who are trying to inaugurate, right, some kind of solid human rights law system against caste have India very much in their sights, and hopefully we will try to unpack some of that, some of that phenomenon, if you like, during the course of the next 2 days. The other entity which we are trying to bring into the framework of the project is the European Union, right? Now, it's not obvious how the European Union legislates on caste, right? Of course, the UK is a part of the European Union, so that already makes it quite interesting, right? But what we discovered during the course of the last few years, and particularly as I've been fighting the law on caste in the United Kingdom, is that the EU also has specific legislative instruments. It's been developing legislative instruments over the last few years also, and especially instruments that govern the EU's relationship with third countries, right? So when European diplomats and representatives deal with India, for example, right, they can bring onto the table, in fact, they are obliged to bring onto the table in the negotiations, right, in the agreements that India makes with the EU, the problem of caste discrimination, right? So the EU wants to be reassured that Indians don't discriminate systematically on grounds of caste. If they do, it actually jeopardizes the legality of any agreements that potentially could be arrived at between the two countries or power blocks or whatever, right? However you want to describe it. So our project tries to unify all of those different sites of lawmaking, and we want to try to derive from that investigation some sense of what is the notion of caste and caste system, which is inherent to all these enterprises of lawmaking, right? That's our basic mission, if you like, self-appointed mission. And now that we've got the award, we have to do it, right? So we're going to try to figure out. And as I'm saying, we're still talking to each other. We don't know exactly what we're going to do. Perhaps each of us will divide up the cake in, and take different slices and say, okay, look, this is what I want to work on. Let's see what we find here. For example, if I might look at Geneva and what they've been doing in terms of the international human rights lawmaking there. What the, what do they call them, the special rapporteur on minorities has been writing about the spread of the caste system globally, right? Or caste-like systems globally, right? What is all this about? Yeah? And what do they mean by caste? Is it some kind of inherited status, descent-based status? Is it an oppressive structure? Right, as we are repeatedly told, exists in India, has been existing for long as anybody can remember, and even beyond that. So we're going to try to come to grips with how this conceptualization of caste and caste system, right, has got tied up with all kinds of enterprises of lawmaking. And hopefully we will come out with something. Yeah, it's not even clear what, maybe a book, maybe a report at the end of the day. So as you can sense, we're very much at the beginnings of the project, so we seek your blessings in a way, and I'm glad so many of you could be here with us today to actually perhaps just provide some of your own thoughts about where this potentially very massive project should be going, right? We've only got funding for 1 year, right? So definitely we are going to continue anyway, with or without funding, doesn't matter, right? So this is going to be a long-term thing, and it may be obvious to you already that it's not something that's going to go away, right? Particularly for India, it's definitely not going to go away. This discussion will probably last for a generation or more. Yeah, it's actually a generational thing that Indians in particular have to work on, right? To secure their own kind of sustainable future, if you like. So, okay, so I wish you a good 2 days. I wish myself a good 2 days as well. I hope that I come away with some of your own thoughts about what we're doing. And thank you very much for being present with us and sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was definitely interesting. I now request Mr. Venkat Rao, Professor of Humanities, EFLU, Hyderabad, to impart his wisdom on us.
Friends, I'm not sure I have wisdom to offer to you. I certainly am not a knot maker. I am, as Duncan was saying, I'm struggling along with others, my friends and many others, to find out where the knots are and how the knots have been made, and what are the ways in which we can get out of the knots. But before I go on to say anything about that, I must point out that SDM has been a wonderful college. My memory of my last visit is still very warm. Six years ago we all came. It's unlike any other universities, any other academic universities, for two reasons. It enabled the possibility of bringing in someone who has been changing the tectonic plates of research in the world, I must say, but definitely relevant to the Indian context. Prakash was mentioning the name of S.N. Balagangadhara. He was here. He actually opened up what are the ways in which the base on which we are standing that needs to be rethought more carefully. And then this base, if we don't rethink, then it is going to collapse at one point. And that's the reason why he's changing the tectonic plates of research in humanities and social sciences. A remarkable figure. When he came here, SDM, within a short notice, in fact, we were remembering last time when Honorable Hegdeji was here, we were remembering the most moving kind of scenario that was created here, and he took up the challenge of organizing, making possible a wonderful conference here. And the vibrancy of the students and the support that they gave is just still remarkable and warm in many of our hearts. And for second reason, SDM seems to be a remarkable institution. In many of the academic institutions these days, many of you know probably, those of you who are seniors who would know, that they will not touch with even a barge pole the themes that they were going to discuss in the coming 2 days, and the themes that were discussed earlier. Nobody would like to comfortably grapple with the question of caste all that easily, unless you deal with them in the sanctioned ways. The sanctioned ways are constitutionally endowed ways or politically correct ways. But then the themes that have been identified here, maybe I think a few generations will have to work on those themes. India and Europe is one major question. How does India relate itself to Europe, and what Europe has done to India, and has India been able to do anything to Europe? That's a major question. The comparative legal scenario is also another major scenario that is emerging. Not many universities are coming forward to advance comparative studies in law. When they do that, they do only the sanctioned legal codes only are compared, but not the in-depth, cultural tectonics of each of these, countries from which thinking in a different way has emerged. Those kind of epistemic comparisons are not being made. So that's another major theme. And the minority issues are the issues connected with caste is a major issue again. So in the institutions, the university where I teach, it is difficult to talk about caste all that easily. Same is the case with many institutions. But we all come from jatis, we all come from castes. Why is it we are not in a position to talk about them with a relatively easy, as if it's a research phenomenon we would like to examine? That has not been provided to us. So the challenge has been taken up by Prakash and his friends. They have come out with a remarkable book, which will be discussed in the tomorrow So I think SDM has given a shelter to this kind of event because it's going to affect our lives immediately, and those of you who are interested in research and pursuing serious matters in the original way, rather than just kind of derivative ways of studying law and legal codes, but in the original way, if you want to contribute to the field of legal studies, which are connected to cultures, which are connected to politics, which are connected to many other things, but most important thing is that how do we live today along with other people who are not like us? That's the most challenging ethical political question. And our attempt to address the caste question should enable us to reflect on what this culture has given us over the last 3,000 years. How to live with other people who are not like us. Yeah, this is the most kind of burning question. And it is in my view, I think if we pay careful attention to the question of jati, then you will begin to see that there are certain kind of insights that one can derive from that, so that one can talk about that not just in the Indian context, but in the much larger global context, which is actually becoming genocidal day by day. Okay, so I think the conference takes up these wonderful themes, important themes, burning themes, very relevant themes today, but most important is that an institution which supports the discussion of those themes should be commended. And I wish to wholeheartedly commend SDM College for providing shelter for this and encouraging younger people to participate in this. Without your participation, the conference won't be successful. Participation not in the sense of attending something, but cultivating the ability to think about problems in which we are involved on a day-to-day basis. That's most important. Otherwise, we don't need the institutions. Institutions should enable us to think in different ways, in a different way than the given way or sanctioned ways. I'll have a little more to say later on when the talk comes, but I congratulate the SDM College and all those of you who are interested in this. I look forward to participating in the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I kindly request Mr. Martin Farek, Head of Department for Study of Religions, University of Pardubice, Czech Republic, to address the gathering.
Thank you. Respected Mr. President, respected colleagues, teachers, students, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to join both Prakash and Venkat in bowing down to our great teacher, exemptional figure, Professor S.N. Balagangadhar. Sitting here in the row, I am missing him more than ever in some sense. Because what we try to do is to have very serious and very good discussion on topics that he opened up. He showed us certain directions, so I am seeking his blessings that we do it properly today. I want to wholeheartedly thank you, Mr. President, the colleagues here from SDM College, for very warm welcome, for organizing this event in a splendid way. When Sufia, Dr. Patan, told me 150 people or so are coming, it was like, oh, okay. There will be quite an audience.